Hey everyone, it's Brian here from Massey's Main Entertainment. We are back, guys. It feels like we've been away again for quite a while, but I just got back from vacation from being in Nashville, visiting some family, getting a chance to see a concert at Ryman Auditorium, seeing Jason Isbell. That was great. Had great seats, great show. Can't say enough about that guy. Highly recommend him. He puts on a really great show. But we're here tonight, it's a little bit of our movie themes. We're back again with our top 10 series. We've already covered Quentin Tarantino and we've covered Steven Spielberg. Tonight, we're going to get our hands dirty a little bit by going with somebody who does a little bit more grit when he does movies. And that's our boy, Martin Scorcese. So we're going to do top 10 movies for Martin Scorsese tonight. A guy who has, what'd you say, Rich, 25 movies to his name as far as directing goes. Just a fantastic director, really influential for the types of movies that were made, throughout the mid 70s all the way up to now. He's got a movie release coming out this Friday, as a matter of fact. So, that's right. Guys, I know this was like one of our favorite directors, but I mean, how was it for you guys trying to put together this list? Easy, hard?
I would say, I'll jump in, I'll say this was the hardest one we've done so far to me. Spielberg has tons of movies you can all pick from, but I think we all know it kind of floats to the top with Spielberg in some sense or another. Scorsese has a lot of movies, and I think it's almost like a mood thing, almost, if you want to get right down to it. It's like, all right, I could have, the back half of my list, we could probably have something that's number 12 could be number 8 in 2 weeks or something like that, so it's some good movies didn't make the list, man. That's what I can tell you. That's what I look at it. So it's tough.
Right.
Agreed. Tough. A lot of movies didn't make the list that I really like a lot and watch a lot. In fact, I've seen every movie he's made. I can't say that about Spielberg. There are a couple of Spielberg movies I've skipped over the years. The Tintin or whatever that one was, and some of the more kiddie-friendly movies I didn't bother to watch. But Martin Scorsese has hard-hitting, like you said, gritty, important movies, and they're all must-sees, in my opinion, whether you like them or not. And very difficult list. So this will be interesting to see where the top 5 are, and then the bottom 5, and then the ones that didn't make the list, because you can argue that a lot of those should be on a list somewhere. So we'll see how it goes. Right. Real fun.
Right. Randy, what'd you think?
Well, I thought he has like about 3 masterpieces that are just some of the greatest films of all time. But then he also has about 15 great films, so it was hard to get a list down to 10.
Yeah,
exactly.
I agree. I mean, what I like about him is he's mostly known for these crime type films, for the most part. But I also like the fact that he has some spirituality to a lot of his films, and he loves to do things that are, almost biographic in nature. He loves to do those things, and I kind of appreciate his style overall, his approach to filmmaking. He's got mad respect. People, actors will seek him out to be in his movies. It's not like he has to go try to find good actors. Good actors just want to be in his films. So I think this is going to be really fun. So tonight's order, when we do this, we're actually going to go, everybody's going to list their top 10 in its entirety when they go. Doc, you're going to lead us off tonight, followed by Rich, and then I'll go third. Randy, the man with the knowledge, he's going to do cleanup again to fill in all those blanks that we missed. Right, Randy?
Right.
So, Doc, why don't you get us started, man?
Just to harp on something that Randy touched on, he's got about 3 masterpieces and 15 great. Sometimes those greats are just even a little better than those masterpieces in somebody else's eyes sometimes. So that's
true. Sometimes it's true.
It is true.
So I'll just jump in. My number 10, and I'll tell you, this is really tough, man. So we talked about that, but I got to go with the film side of things a lot of times here too with Scorsese, because he's very visual in a lot of senses on how you see things when doing movies. So I've actually got The Color of Money at number 10.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, some other good movies didn't make my list, but the way this movie is shot, some of the common themes we might see with Scorsese, the music and different things like that you see in his movies. But the way this is shot is top tier, man. This is like directing I don't know, man, peak kind of stuff, man. This is like the way you want to see a movie. You have Newman, you have Cruise. Cruise is kind of growing me, I guess, more and more. I watch it again there, and it's like, maybe. Initially, I wasn't a big fan of this movie, and it's creeping up for me, I guess, a little in some senses too. And I think it's really well made. So I'm going to start 10 with The Color of Money, the sequel to The Hustler. It's going to come in.
There you go.
Yeah, he does have some themes, I guess, and some repeat actors or something like that, I guess, is probably one of the themes that you'll see from some of these lists, I guess, too. This is just me. Number 9, I got Shutter Island. I like Shutter Island. I think it's a really well-made movie. I think it's you go back. It's a rewatchable movie, even if you know the ending. I think the acting is really, really good in this movie. I think Mark Ruffalo is really good in this movie, if you want the truth. And Leonardo DiCaprio is
right.
9 times out of 10, you get really good Leonardo DiCaprio. So that's what I would say to that point. But I think it's pretty slick. I think it's shot again really well. The way the color is used in this movie is really, I love that gritty word used at the beginning here because there's a lot of gritty films that we're going to go through as we go through. But even for a movie that's on an island with a mental hospital and everything else and the detective work that's going on and the backstory for Shutter Island, it even has a bit of that gritty kind of feel to it at certain points throughout the movie too. So top tier acting. You're going to find that throughout a lot of this list anyway. But Shutter Island, I think, is maybe one that's overlooked maybe a little in his catalog, and I think it's really, really a good flick, man. Rankings. God help me. Number 8's Gangs of New York. I cannot get over how good Daniel Day-Lewis is. We've talked about this a couple of years ago, where I just thought this was top-tier acting, man. This is like some of the best acting I've ever seen in my life. And it's not to say that there's anything else, but I even said at the time, I said it's DiCaprio looks out of his league in this movie. And I'll probably stick with that, just the way it looks. But it's this is a dirty, violent, vicious movie. Bill the Butcher, Daniel Day-Lewis it's on the list for a few reasons. Daniel Day-Lewis is one of those big reasons why, but it's really, really well made. Like I said, it's the Gangs of New York, big time fight, revenge, killing my father, that type of stuff. You don't want to give away too much of these movies, but if Scorsese's in your neighborhood of movies, man, this is a must watch if you haven't seen it. So let's see on that level. So, like I said, placement was really tough. So I'm at number 7 now. Man, I flop these things around all the time. Mean Streets is number 7 for me. This would be the first time I probably really used that word gritty or dirty or I don't know. Harvey Keitel's really good at this. And De Niro and Keitel, they appear again later on my list as well. But this is Harvey with the lead. Small time gangster trying to climb up the ladder, that kind of stuff. But it's you can see the makings of where Scorsese is going in his filmmaking here. And I think that's why it's so appealing, even though it's not like, it's not a masterpiece in some senses, but there's a lot of really good elements inside this movie. Once again, the longer scenes, the way that he shows things, and the editing in every one of his movies is top notch. So it's, he gets with good people and he shows you a film every time he's putting something in front of you, man. And Mean Streets is a cool little story. De Niro is like, what the hell are you kind of doing kind of character, and it's Keitel is the too soft gangster guy that, he's probably not going to climb up that ladder, man. So Mean Streets is a good flick, man. Really good flick. Man. That was my 7, so 6. I got to stick with it. The Wolf of Wall Street. This is pretty clear to peak DiCaprio in some senses for me too. So some things I'm going to stay away from, some things are not. But this is my wheelhouse, and Scorsese has a lot in my wheelhouse. I'll say to this. There's other movies that he's making that are fantastic, but my list is definitely a Doc list. The Wolf of Wall Street is the Wolf of Wall Street, man. It's the penny stocks, just everything you want in a movie in some senses too. Once again, the score is fantastic. Cinematography of this movie, again, top notch. And this is a movie that just goes off the rails almost from the get go, and you're just going along for the ride. And it's a blast of a disaster. It's a lot of sense, if you want the truth. It's I like Wall Street too, but the Wolf of Wall Street's like insane ballpark for me. But our buddy Pesci and De Niro hooking up in my next one, man. Got Casino at number 5 for me, man. Love this movie. I think the supporting acting in this movie is top notch. Top notch. Sharon Stone is good enough to talk about this one, man. It is violent as hell. The gangsters and Casino, Las Vegas. Here we go. James Woods, a scumbag, and
Always.
yeah. James, try something new. But you do it so well. You do it so well. Pesci and De Niro. It has a lot of elements that you've seen throughout his movies and stuff like this. And this is almost a tier above, man, because this is violent as hell. And when it gets to those parts, and it gets to those parts. Casino's I love Casino. I think Casino's an awesome film. So now we're getting down to the nitty gritty, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Can't help myself, man. Listen, it's a fantastic movie. I got Taxi Driver here at number 4.
Okay.
Because it's personal. It's almost like a slow burn on how fast this guy's gonna. It's a slow burn kind of movie on a character development kind of thing, and it's De Niro's awesome, man. De Niro's one of the best actors that we'll ever see in our lives, and he's relevant through a lot of these lists. And he's relevant through our lives watching movies in a lot of ways. He can do anything. De Niro's quite the talent, man. I think we're lucky that we get to see him and stuff like this. Like I said, that slow burn, all that other stuff. It's Taxi Driver is just kind of like a cinematic masterpiece in a sense for the time that it came out, especially.
Yeah.
Not to say it holds up as well now as it did back then, but it definitely had the effect probably when it did come out that it's probably the best movie for 10 years, man. So still trying to give it the love. It's going to make my list at number 4, man. That's just the way it's going to cook. I love this movie, man. I got The Departed at number 3. Police, corruption, backstabbing, fantastic cast, well acted. I don't know, kind of right in my neighborhood, man. That's Martin Sheen, Alec Baldwin. Who's the other cop that's with him there, Brian? You know who I'm talking about that comes in at the end.
Mark Wahlberg.
Fantastic. Matt Damon. Yeah. Awesome. This is, once again, the common theme, great acting, all that kind of stuff is awesome. But this is a story that is, and Jack is, you can see why Jack. I was actually watching some stuff on this, man, where they were talking about Jack, where he's like just improvising in the middle of the scene, and DiCaprio's got no idea what to make out of it going on, so he just goes with the flow of it and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, this is top tier, man. You get the best people on the planet that do their job. You get them all in one spot to do it. The part it's a classic, man. That's my take. Top 2. Well, I guess Raging Bull's gonna be number 2, man. This is a cinematic, like a you want to show how to shoot a movie, watch Raging Bull, man. This is the way movie directors like Jake LaMotta is just a disaster, like an ups and downs and the anger and everything else. And it's De Niro, it's Pesci, it's filmmaking, man. This is this should be shown to everybody that's taking courses in film and stuff like this. You want to learn stuff, watch this. The black and white has a lot of power to it. It's a 1980 movie, man. The De Niro is the peak. Pesci, the side notes and everything else. But Raging Bull's a classic. My top two are my top 2. They're the first 2 I wrote down. So That wasn't changing. Next Men by one, which I'm going to guess might be some sort of common theme as a guess, maybe, I don't know, but as far back as I remember, I always wanted to be a gangster, man, so I got Goodfellas, number one. At times of my life, man, this was my favorite movie. This was my number one. This would be ahead of The Godfather. This would be ahead of Godfather 2.
Wow.
This was my masterpiece for some time of my life, man. This is right there. This is, you can have the debate. Goodfellas is, if we're having that debate, I'm having that debate with myself. So that gives you an idea of what I think of this movie, man. This is top tier. This is it will always be a top fiver for me, and who knows where it floats in there in that level. But everything I want in a movie, I got in here, man, including making the sauce and the helicopters and everything else that goes with it. Violence, it's the crime and the gangster life, man. This is, you want a story about the gangster life, go watch Goodfellas, man. If you can't find The Godfather, go watch this one, or vice versa.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good list.
Yeah, I
Thank
like
you.
it.
Sounds good. A lot of familiar stuff there.
Yeah.
Rich, what do you think?
Well, Doc's list is shaping our theme here, I believe. Everybody's going to have a lot of those films on it, but
Yeah.
I got to say I have 7 of his 10.
Oh my.
So I'm going to kick it off. My number 10 is one that's kind of surprising because I'm not a religious person at all.
Yeah.
I love this film, Silence, that came out in 2016. It's really a thought-provoking, kind of artful mini masterpiece in a way. I've only seen it once. I got to go back and revisit it. It's a Martin Scorcese passion project. He's always fought that balance of the way he grew up with spirituality and morality and right from wrong and this and that. And this is a search for basically reflection, and it's complex, the vagueness of religion. What does it all mean? The meaning of life. There's a lot of those themes that run through here. He did a trilogy of spiritual kind of movies with the Last Temptation of Christ and Kundun, and then Silence. All 3 are worth checking out, in my opinion, but this is the one I selected. Andrew Garfield and Adam Driver are these 2 Portuguese priests who traveled to Japan to find out why their mentor, played by Liam Neeson, has denounced God. And there's all kinds of storylines that run through that. But this is a slow, deliberately slow-paced film, and it fits the subject matter. And just hang with it. Patience will be rewarded, I think, in the long run. It's a good film. I wanted to squeeze it on my list here at number 10. Not one of his usual suspects, mob kind of movies. So I just wanted to break it up a little bit. Number 9 is Casino, which Doc mentioned. Mobsters in Vegas. Sharon Stone gives a tremendous performance in this film as his wife, former prostitute, drug addict, hanging out with James Woods, who's a scumbag, as you mentioned. You got the Joe Pesci and De Niro as the mobsters. Don Rickles appears in this film also as a supporting actor. He's quite good. The realism of the casino business and the mob influence is very palatable, and it seems like the art direction, the cinematography, the editing, they're all excellent. It takes you to a place and you believe everything that's going on. These characters, they seem so real. It's a little heavy-handed with the narration, I think. It's a little bit long. Those are its flaws, but overall, it has to make my list. I think it's an important film in his career. So that's going to be number 9. Number 8 is The Color of Money. It's got the star power of Paul Newman and Tom Cruise. Eddie Felson, the hustler 25 years later, sort of a mentor instead of the hustler that he was back in the old days, a character study. The photography is excellent in this movie. The pool hall scenes are great. The way he's racking them up, and the camera movement as the balls are scattered around, and some of the different angles he uses. I like the Newman as the wily veteran and Cruise as the hotshot, cocky upstart. And there's some backstabbing in this as well, and game playing along, within the game itself. So Forrest Whitaker gives a great performance as well as the guy not to mess with in the pool, I guess. But anyway, I like this movie. I'm a big Tom Cruise fan and a Paul Newman fan, so that sways it a little bit in my direction. Number 7 is The King of Comedy from with Rupert Pupkin, the classic lead character here played by De Niro. Dark comedy about stalking and celebrity and America's obsession with celebrity, which you could see 40 years ago, and it's even worse now with all the reality TV and all the, all the stuff you see on television now. This is crazy. This is a misfit, a wannabe who thinks that by kidnapping a big star like Jerry Lewis, who's like the Johnny Carson of that time, is going to turn his career around or something. He goes in the basement. He's yelling up to his mother. He's got the cardboard cutouts of Liza Minnelli and all these people down in the basement. It's funny, and it's so sad and sick and perverted.
Oh, yeah.
And then again, this is a departure from those mob movies. So he can do more than just show you that mob lifestyle. The King of Comedy is an interesting movie, and especially for its time. He made a good decision in taking this on, I think, in the early 80s. Number 6 is The Wolf of Wall Street. I like it like Doc does. Crime, corruption, greed, the lack of morality. Again, those themes of, you're doing the wrong thing. You're caught up in it. The scene with the Quaaludes, with him crawling around and banging cars, it's tremendous. It goes off the rails. It's over the top. Debauchery in the office place where they're snorting coke, and you got half-naked women running around, and the thump chesting thing that Matthew McConaughey shows them early in the picture. Jonah Hill's very good in this movie too, believe it or not. And that's the rise and fall of this character. And I don't know. It's just, he gets
disaster.
It's a disaster. He gets sucked into this out of control lifestyle, and there's really no way out for him with the feds leaning on him and everything else. Just an interesting, fast-paced kind of movie. I really enjoyed it a lot. The Wolf of Wall Street, number 6. Number 5 is a documentary, The Last Waltz. I had to put this on my list. The band's last concert, impeccably directed with amazing musicians of the time. Bob Dylan, Eric Clapton, Joni Mitchell, Neil Young, Van Morrison, staple singers, Muddy Waters, right down the list. A melting pot of music up until that time that the band were influenced by. Robbie Robertson of the band and Martin Scorcese are friends off stage. I think they both went through some drug problems at the same time. They make this movie. To me, it's a smorgasbord of musical performances, custom made for people of my generation. I just love the movie, and I can watch it a million times. So I had to put it in my top 5. Number 4, The Departed, Irish Mob. One of the best casts I've ever seen in a movie. Leo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, Jack Nicholson. Right there, you got a big start. And then the supporting actors with Wahlberg and Martin Sheen, Alec Baldwin, Vera Farmiga as the shrink. She's excellent too. I love movies shot in Boston for some reason. And to me, this is as good as any movie ever shot in that city. I'm talking about Mystic River, The Verdict, Spotlight, Good Will Hunting, The Town. They're all in Boston, and there's more. But The Departed is really at the top of the line there. It's a masterpiece. Moles, rats within the police ranks, internal affairs, backstabbing, plot twists. Who can you trust? Probably nobody. The first major release that I can remember where the cell phone is such an important part of the plot. It came out, I don't know what year the cell phones really came out where you can, doctor it and send messages while you're all the heat's around you and stuff. It's just amazing. Matt Damon and Leo DiCaprio really, really shine.
Really good.
Yeah.
Really shine. Jack Nicholson, you can argue he's over the top, but yeah, he's an older man at this time, and I believe everything he was doing. I mean, Wahlberg's tremendous, Martin Sheen, top of the line actors. They all want to work with Scorsese, and they pulled this off. Number 3, Raging Bull. I've got it 3. It's a difficult watch because the character's kind of unsavory. Jake LaMotta, he doesn't treat the people around him very well. His wife, he's beating her up a little bit, just awful. He takes all his people that are close to him, and he takes out his frustration in the ring with whether it be his wife looking at somebody the wrong way or his brother. He's jealous of his brother or whatever. Very powerful story, black and white photography, graphic boxing images. Those shots in the ring are
Top notch.
They're the best that I've ever seen. The blood just sprays. The ribs are cracking, as you can hear the ribs cracking when he's pounding on people. The animal sounds that he puts in the sound part of the mixing. He is a raging bull. Just a incredible movie, and on most directors' lists that would be number one, but not this guy. My number two is Goodfellas. I hate to break up the fun here, but it is, to me, it does rival The Godfather. It stands up to any mob movie ever made. I prefer The Godfather 1 and 2, but you can argue, as Doc said, that Goodfellas is right there with it. Brilliant ensemble cast with Ray Liotta, De Niro, and Pesci again. Lorraine Bracco is the wife, and Paul Sorvino. Great actors. An inside look at the workings of the mob, organized crime. The whole thing around the table where all the nicknames are given out. That opening scene's fantastic. The prison scenes are good with the, Paul Sorvino and stuff, lecturing people on how it should be done. The music soundtrack is top notch. Layla is played. There's a lot of Rolling Stones tunes in here. It's high energy, and it's a classic for sure, and a masterpiece. My number one, though, I always have to go back to Taxi Driver is my number one. I think it's brilliant, as disturbing and powerful as it is. Loneliness and depression in the inner city, urban alienation, whatever you want to call it, a descent into madness, all that stuff's just driving him until he finally cracks. He deals with a 13-year-old prostitute played by Jodie Foster, who's brilliant in the movie. Harvey Keitel is a pimp. Sybil Shepherd is this beautiful vision he sees in the political office, and he screws that up. I mean, she's willing to go out with him, and he takes her to a porn movie on the first date. That's how fucked up he is in the head. It's just unbelievable. Vigilante violence where he comes in that convenience store and sees a robbery going down, and he gets a pipe or something and he shoots the guy, and then the other guy finishes him off with the pipe. And every night he has to clean the scum off his seats. He's driving people around that are just completely unsavory, and he's getting advice from Peter Boyle, who's known as the Wizard. And just their dialogue between each other is completely insane. He wants to single-handedly clean up the streets, play the vigilante, be a hero, but it works. It had an influence on society too, with Hinckley and obsession with Jodie Foster and shooting Reagan, and there's a lot there. It's a really important film, and it has to be my number one. Although Goodfellas is no slouch, and neither is Raging Bull, and neither is The Departed. Those four are clearly masterpieces for me.
Well, I matched with Doc. I had 8 of what Doc had, but I also had 8 of what you had, Rich. So that, without giving you anything away, Rich and I are really close on this one. Yeah, except for just a couple. So I'm going to start off. My number 10 is also Silence. I thought, despite the slow pace, if you stick it out, it really does reward you at the end. I think Andrew Garfield and Adam Driver, I read somewhere about how much weight they lost actually for the role, because they got this emaciated frames that they needed to play the roles and stuff. I thought they did a tremendous job. Liam Neeson's really great in this as well. I like his spiritual movies. I've watched all of them. I mean, Kundun maybe be the least of the 3 that I like, but I think Silence is really worth mentioning. And I think everybody should just give it a try. Number 9 for me, I also have Casino here. I mean, I know it's a long movie, and it felt, I think a lot of people wanted to herald it as some type of, Goodfellas Part 2. because it had Pesci and De Niro in there.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it's a completely different movie. I love the supporting cast. Sharon Stone, it may be her best role ever that she's ever had. James Wood as a scumbag, obviously, and you look at James Woods and you're going, how in the world could someone like Sharon Stone's character even be attracted to him? It just didn't even make any sense. But yeah, talking about, the mob's move into the Las Vegas area and getting into casino business and all the backdoor plays and violence that go along with that. It's a great movie. Even though it's 2 hours and 45 minutes long. I mean, if they played it on AMC, it's probably only, after you cut everything out for cuss words, it probably could be an hour and a half movie. But it's worth seeing. For me, number 8 is a little bit more divergent here. I've got Last Temptation of Christ here. I saw it early on, in the 80s. I remember there being picketing outside the theater when they were showing this from the Catholics that were actually living down in the area that I was living. Really powerful movie, though. I think that I thought the realism of depicting Christ in a very human way, as a very weak way, I thought really gave the vision a lot more substance. And William Dafoe just did an outstanding job in this. David Bowie's also in it, and Barbara Hershey's in it as well. Just a really great cast. One of the lines that kind of stuck out to me, and he said, he goes, when somebody asked him who he was, he said, well, I'm the Son of God. He said, no, he said, I'm just a man. He said, and more than that, I'm the Son of Man, and more than that, I'm Son of God, and then more than that, God. And then just that little bit kind of drawing that parallel, between connecting man and connecting the God that they worship. I thought that was really, really good. So number 7 for me, I've got Wolf of Wall Street here. My wife essentially says this is, Martin Scorsese's porn movie, but because it has a lot of sex scenes in it and outrageous stuff that's going on. But, definitely worth seeing. Leonardo DiCaprio, getting into the Wall Street business, then finding out, for penny stocks, you can make this higher commission, and then has this outrageous idea just to pass themselves off as a major Wall Street firm that's actually just selling garbage stocks to people and taking these high commission rates and stuff. And it's really great. Jonah Hill's great. John Berthal's character in it I really liked as well. I thought that was outstanding. His character, playing that crazy muscular guy, and he ends up beating the crap out of Hill for just giving him lip all the time. I thought it was good. Number 6, I've got Color of Money here, maybe a little higher than you guys had it, but I think it's a really great movie. Paul Newman did an outstanding job. Forrest Whitaker, like you guys have already said, it's kind of the follow-up to The Hustler. One of the few roles where I definitely like Tom Cruise in. I like Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio as well. I think she did a really great job. Number 5, I've got The Departed here. This is just an all-star cast. This is a movie I could just watch over and over again, and I'm just trying to find more actors that I know and recognize from other roles. And it's just incredible when you got guys on the list that would be the lead actor or an A-list actor on any other film, and they're like listed way down on the list. But I mean, Jack's character is great. Martin Sheen's character is really good. Leo and Matt. Vera Farmiga, they said they wanted a fresh-looking face, something new, and she just has these striking, beautiful eyes that just kind of pop out. That I thought was really good as well. One of the scenes that I thought was the most disturbing and just kind of lends itself to like just how degrading Jack Nicholson's character is when he's sitting at that dinner table with Leo trying to figure out what he could use him for, and he's got this hand that he reaches into this bag, pulls it out, and just like breaks everything off so he could rip this ring off of this guy's severed hand. I was like, wow. I said, you really want to go work for this guy? You must really need the money. So watch The Departed. Fantastic. Number 4, Gangs of New York here. We've talked about it many times. Daniel Day-Lewis is on another level altogether as an actor. But, you throw in Liam Neeson and Brendan Gleeson's character as well. Leo. And then there's Henry Thomas is also in the film. Just a really, really good cast. Just talking about the the five boroughs of New York, and how they all clash together. You know, once the big immigration pull is going in the United States. Good movie. Definitely worth checking out. Number 3 for me, I've got Raging Bull. I think Rich and I are going to start to sound the same here now. You guys have already touched upon it. I like this movie better than Rocky for sure. I like the black and white, filming. I love the gritty look, and you feel like when you're in the ring stuff, you feel like you're in there with them, and you can just like feel the moisture coming from their body when they're punching, and it's just so realistic. Like Rich said, it's just like his character is so vastly flawed, and just somehow or another we want to see more of him. It's just odd how Scorsese is able to do that with his lead characters. You can just absolutely abhor everything that the person stands for, and for some reason you just want more of it. You want to see more of it. Number 2 for me is also Rich's number 2 is Goodfellas here. Sorry, Doc, didn't make number 1. But you guys said it, ever since I was a little kid, I always wanted to be a gangster. Good stuff. Joe Pesci, obviously, and our vodka guy. What's Ray Liotta. So
Ray Liotta.
Other stuff too. Like you had Paul Sorvino's in it. I thought he was really fantastic in the film, and the soundtrack, like you guys always said, the scene where he's like coked out and he's having his brother. He's driving around his brother and stuff, and he sees the helicopter, and they're playing Harry Nielsen's "Jump in the Fire." They're playing that music, and stuff, and he's freaking out. I think that's just a fantastic scene from the movie. Definitely worth checking out. And number 1 for me is Taxi Driver. This just seems like it would probably be. It's definitely in my top 10, maybe like 7 or 8 overall for films ever made. So being at the top of the list for Scorsese himself seemed like a no-brainer. Robert De Niro's character, like Rich already touched upon it, taking, somebody out on a date and taking her to a porn movie. It just right away you're starting to understand that he does not have any type of social skills whatsoever to interact with regular other people, even in a city like New York, which, you would figure like you could find somebody that you could relate to on some level, but he just doesn't have any of those skills to do so. And Jodie Foster, really good in it. Harvey Keitel's character as well. So Taxi Driver makes number 1 for me. So
great
list. We're doing pretty good so far, guys.
Not bad.
I'm gonna throw a little wrench into this probably. Some different ones.
That's all right. That's why we like it.
Yeah.
All right. My number 10 is going to be maybe Scorsese's only straight comedy. That's After Hours.
After Hours.
Kind of looks at New York after midnight when Griffin Dunn goes on a date with Rosanna Arquette, this quirky character. And they say nothing good ever happens after like 2 or 3 in the morning. This is a pretty good example.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if Job went on a late night date in New York City, or if Taxi Driver was a comedy or something like that. But it's got these great people like Terry Garr, Linda Fiorentina, and Catherine O'Hara playing these strange characters he encounters. It's a fun ride, and it was my number 10.
Nice.
All right.
Very good.
I think I'm going to be I think this is the third one to have Casino at number 9.
Yeah.
In some ways, it is kind of like the Goodfellas Go to Las Vegas, but it's just not as well developed, I don't think. It deals with the mafia in Las Vegas, and even though it's based on a true story, the names have been changed to protect the guilty, I guess. It has these great Scorsese touches where violence can break out at any moment, especially when Joe Pesci's character is around. You already said Sharon Stone is probably her best role. It is a long movie, but it seems to fly by. At least it did to me. That's my number 9. Number 8 is one nobody has said either, and that's going to be The Aviator, the movie about Howard Hughes. I'm a sucker for movies about old Hollywood, and we get a look at Howard Hughes and the making of his movie Hell's Angels, a World War I aviation adventure. It came out in 1930, or something like that. But and Scorsese recreates some of these great flying sequences. It's pretty amazing to see. You also get Gwen Stefani as Jean Harlow, Kate Beckinsale as Ava Gardner, and she looks stunning. Kate Blanchett, who won an Academy Award as Katharine Hepburn. She doesn't really look like Katharine Hepburn, but she did kind of have the accent and the mannerisms down. And Leonardo is great as we see Howard Hughes' phobia affectations developed, but we also see his genius as an aviator. And there's so many great scenes in there. I like the one with the ratings board where he's got some guy showing that Jane Russell's cleavage isn't any more deep than some of these other actresses that they've approved before, which is a pretty great scene. And my number 7 is one I think that you were probably referring to when you said it was overrated. And nobody on this panel seems to like this as much as I do. And I got The Irishman at number 7.
Ooh.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's over 3.5 hours long, but I love where you see the different characters, and some of them will say was shot in the head and so and so. So I actually watched. I didn't watch it at the theater. I watched it on DVD. So I would stop and look up on Wikipedia and say, "Oh, that guy did get shot like that." It also answers the question, whatever happened to Jimmy Hoffa, at least according to Frank, the Irishman Sheeran, the main character in the book that was about his life entitled I Heard You Paint Houses. Of course, his version of things has been disputed by many. But with Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, and Al Pacino, you're going to have some great entertainment. The only thing I didn't really care for is the new technology they used to age them. To me, it never did look like they were younger. It looked like they were older, even when they were playing their younger selves. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I thought it was great. That's just me. Number 6, the king of comedy. I have it there. Robert De Niro creates one of his most memorable characters, and Rupert Pupkin. And I don't know if he wants to be on Jerry Lewis's show, who's like the Johnny Carson on this one, but I think he actually wants to be a Jerry Lewis character. Yeah. It's a movie about overt fandom and also rejection. And Jerry Lewis actually does a really good job, I thought, in this role.
He's very good at it.
Agreed.
It's a cringy comedy in the best way. It's kind of the best way to describe it. And Martin Scorcese is always great at picking out great music. And I think this is one of the ones that has some of the best music in any of his movies is this one. All right. Number 5, another one nobody had.
Whoa.
I've got The Age of Innocence here.
Wow.
It's a film that shows Martin Scorsese could do any type of film. And he does what I guess would be called a costume drama in earlier days. But underneath all this refinement of this Victorian age is really a lot of cruelty and this examination of manners in this one. Daniel Day-Lewis, Michelle Pfeiffer, Winona Ryder, all are great in their roles. But the only one that really looks like a naive innocent is not the one you would expect. I'm not going to give it away. But it's got amazing cinematography, costuming, set decoration, and it gets extra credit because Michelle Pfeiffer's in it.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah.
All right. My number 4 is The Departed. Great crime thriller inspired by a Hong Kong gangster. But Scorsese incorporates kind of elements of the real life Boston criminal Whitey Bulger into the mix. And what's so great is that, with the undercover cop and the spy, there's always the fear of being found out. And that creates so much tension in this movie. There's just a thing. And Scorsese finally won his deserved Oscar.
Yeah.
So number 3, I've got Goodfellas here. It's a fun, humorous, scary, violent, romanticized version of the mafia. And I love Ray Liotta's narration and this as Henry Hill. And you've all talked about it already, but the only thing I would say is it is probably the most watched Scorsese movie that I've seen. anytime it comes on TV, I'll start watching it. So
Yeah.
Right. No matter where it's at.
it's an easy watch.
Yeah.
My number 2 is Taxi Driver. It's one of the most memorable movie experiences I've had, because I remember seeing this with my friend at the theater and just coming out of the theater and like, what did we see? And we just didn't say anything for quite a while. It's a movie that lingers with you, I think. You know, all this, he can't make a connection, the De Niro character. It's all about loneliness, but it's also about not being able to communicate with anyone else. And it's probably his best portrayal, or along with my number 1. And everybody has the famous quote that he says in the mirror, but for me, it was always, someday a rain will come and wash all the scum off the street.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I always think about this movie. I think De Niro driving his cab on the wet streets at night.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And my number 1 is going to be Raging Bull. His transformation into Jake LaMotta is one of the most amazing, I think, for Robert De Niro in that regard. And his distrust, imagined infidelity, which led to physical abuse, like you said, and isolation from all those around him. That's hence the term Raging Bull, because that's what he fought with. It was all rage. But I love the black and white cinematography. And what was amazing is he took us from outside the ring to inside the ring, was where all the camera work was going on. So you felt every blow and you saw the sweat and the blood fly off. And then it's kind of heartbreaking at the end, or toward the end, where he's still trying to make up with his brother, but he's ruined everything in his life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could maybe say 4 masterpieces and put The Departed in there.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think so.
Well, guys, we had 5. We had 5 matches.
Yeah.
So all of us had 5 of the same movies, but we had 18 different movies.
That's amazing. 18.
That's huge.
18 out of the 25.
Yeah.
That he put out.
Yep.
That is amazing. Thanks to Randy. Actually, Randy just rattled off a couple there where nobody had.
He pulled
and
us
even
up.
still, my honorable mentions, I have Cape Fear and Hugo.
Yeah.
As my honorable mentions. So they were close, to being in the
To
mix
making
for
the
me.
list.
Yeah. So what'd you guys have for honorable mentions?
Me, well, I had King of Comedy, which was just off my list, and The Aviator was right behind that, to be honest with you. I had The Last Waltz behind that, to be honest with you, Rich. So
Yeah, the 3 that came the closest for me that I didn't want to leave off, but I had to, were The Aviator, Mean Streets, and what was the other one? Cape Fear. Those 3.
Wow.
I wrote 4 down that just barely missed mine. It was Mean Streets, Silence, Wolf of Wall Street, and Cape Fear.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now let's just talk about the films that nobody mentioned. There's only like 8 or 9 of them. This first movie, Who's That Knocking at My Door, was a student film. Boxcar Bertha, which is a Roger Corman kind of exploitation movie in a way. Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, which got some acclaim.
Yep.
Nobody mentioned that. It's kind of I don't want to say a woman's picture, but it's from a female perspective, a little bit different for him. New York, which is a bomb at the box office. Kundun, we did mention it, but nobody had it on the list.
Yeah.
Bringing Out the Dead, which may be one of his worst films. And Hugo, which is a really good movie, a childlike kind of film in a way, but those are the ones that miss. Everything else, one or more of us have covered.
Yeah, that's great.
that's pretty good.
That just shows you, the depth of what he puts out. Something I wanted to mention too about the Taxi Driver, since it's really prominent on our list. I forgot to mention that it's kind of a Shakespearean movie, and that you come in on medias res, you come in the middle, and then you have this really tragic, unsatisfying in a way ending, and that's what you're stuck with. It's almost like Hamlet taking the poison at the end. Getting poisoned at the end of the film and dying, and it's really just a tragic movie like that. I thought that's what I made it really great, when you're able to do that. and still people like the movie when you do that. I think that's what makes it great.
Yeah.
So,
I also forgot to mention that was Bernard Herrmann's last score that he did was in that movie.
Yeah.
And it hit right when the beginning, it hits you right when it starts, and it kind of lets you know something's going to get ready to happen or what the mood of his character is. I thought it was a great score.
I think that goes to whatever we talked about before, the editing and the soundtrack and the scores in his movies.
Yeah,
they're top notch, man.
Peter Gabriel does Passion, which is the music for The Last Temptation of Christ, and it's an outstanding album. Outstanding. All by itself. Even if you never saw the movie, you could listen to that and go, wow, that's incredible.
That's great trace to have in the filmmaking industry.
Yeah.
Man. Really good.
I like what Randy mentioned about the scene shot in the rain in the taxi, and you can see the steam coming off the streets, and the music that goes with it, and the windshield wipers, and just it's beautifully shot within the taxi setting. It's just unbelievable. And then you got people in the back. One's threatening to shoot some woman up in an apartment, played by Martin Scorcese, who's the actor in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got other people doing whatever in the back seat. And it's just tremendous. It takes you to a place, a dirty, filthy, street-laden kind of place that you don't want to be at night. And this character's trying to find his way. And like you said, he can't communicate with anybody, has nobody he can relate to. He gets a beautiful, gorgeous woman and takes her to a porn movie. And from there, it's just straight downhill. It's descent into wherever it's going to. And the political end, too, where he meets this politician in the back seat, Valentine, and then he's sort of stalking him at the speech where he gives. And they make him out to be a possible assassin. And then he goes to the whorehouse and shoots everybody in it with such graphic violence. Blows that guy's hand off, and just amazing. I saw this in the movie too, in the theater too, Randy, when I was like 19, I guess I was. Blew me away. Didn't know what I was watching. I didn't know it would be the masterpiece 50 years later that it is, but just that's why it's number one for me, although Goodfellas is damn close.
Damn close. Yeah. I think somebody made a joke one time about Goodfellas. They said they saw it on AMC, and it said it was just a 30-minute movie about guys who like to cook. It's like, it's kind of sums it up. You take all the violence and the stuff out. That's probably right.
Don't watch movies on AMC.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, really,
But anyway, thanks everybody for joining us. Make sure you please like or subscribe, and definitely comment with your ranking of the top 10 movies for Martin Scorsese, and tell us, whether you feel like we were right, whether we were wrong. We can take it. We're big guys. And also be sure to check out our continuing series where we're doing our top 5 movies from each year from 1965 all the way through 1979. So far we got up to 1970. We'll be filming 1971 come next week and finishing off that series. So thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Take care. See ya.